Hi everyone and welcome to Information Distribution Exploring Qlik NPrinting. My name is Jason Brown and I'm the Marketing Manager for QlickiT. I'm pleased to have with me today David Brown, Service Delivery Manager and Consultant for QlickiT, plus extremely lucky to have Stewart Cully, who is the Information Manager for QlickiT customer NHS Dumfries and Galloway. Now in a moment I'll be handing over to David, who'll be sharing his NPrinting expertise. Then we can look forward to Stewart exploring what the solution means to him and his end users. And then it will be back to me quickly to talk to you about how QlickiT can help you benefit from NPrinting before we open for questions at the end finally. Now, just before that, I would like very quickly to give an overview of QlickiT and our interests in this product. Now, whilst we have a similar name, we're not in fact Qlik, the software company, but QlickiT, a dedicated Qlik specialist since 2005. Now, we're a certified Qlik elite solution provider and can demonstrate our expertise through not one, but actually 6 solution specialist awards granted from Qlik. We offer a soup to nuts menu of everything related to Qlik, from the software itself through to value-added products such as NPrinting, but also expert consultancy, training, development and support services through to providing hosted environments for off-premise Qlik deployments and much more. So basically, if it's Qlik related, then we're the place. Now, so talking about NPrinting, we've been fans of it for a very long time. Long before it actually became an official part of the Qlik family, it was being distributed through a small Italian startup. But even back then, we saw the huge potential for what was missing from Qlik. Truly exceptional flat reports that could be put into the hands of all the people that needed them and when they needed them. And as David will show you, that is exactly what NPrinting does. So over to you, David.
Thanks very much, Jason. So, what is NPrinting? Qlik NPrinting is a market-leading report generation, distribution, and scheduling application. Works with both QlikView and QlikSense. What does that mean? Well, what it does is, Jason just briefly explained there, it takes the reports that you want out of your QlikView and QlikSense applications. It takes those charts and puts them into flat reports, either in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, and it ensures that the right people get the right reports, get the information that they're entitled to. It's secure. It's generated on time whenever you want it to be delivered. It will work as a single system to take those charts from QlikView or QlikSense, allowing you to get rid of all of that redundant, wasted time where you're currently taking reports, putting data into Excel, creating charts, copying, pasting, and creating your final reports to send out to people. Where does NPrinting sit? Well, if you think about all of your users, you're going to have traditionally business analysts, finance people, marketing people, sitting in the core of the business, interrogating data very often. Traditionally, they would have used Excel, etc. Now, hopefully, they're using QlikView or QlikSense, and they're really getting into the data and helping themselves to the data and exploring it. They're the business analysts. Then you have another group of people who are the information explorers. So you might have generated QlikView or QlikSense applications and put them out there on the hubs and the desktops for people to interrogate the data, maybe not go into so much interrogation of creating applications, but actually looking at the data and making selections for their own areas and things like that using QlikView and QlikSense. And then you're going to have a whole host of passive consumers who might get a report out of IT once a month or once a week if they're lucky. That really is the area that NPrinting is hoping to aim towards. The nice thing about NPrinting is that what we have found is that as we put NPrinting out to businesses, very often it also encourages those same passive consumers who very often are the sort of people who say, oh yeah, give me the report and I might answer you one day. What's it about? What have I got a problem with? Oh, I don't know, because nobody's told me. Oh, clicks on a report. I haven't seen it before. Those passive consumers start moving towards information explorers and are all the way through to business analysts because they've got the data to hand. They have got more capability to adopt those interactive analytics and request more and more data as they find out more and more. So where does NPrinting sit in the suite of products? Well, across the top in this sheet, we've got QlikSense Enterprise. On the left-hand side, we've got self-service data visualization. That is the traditional QlikSense, where people can just use QlikSense and develop the reports or applications for themselves and play with the data, either as individuals or in groups. Then you move across to the guided analytics with QlikView, and it's centrally deployed guided analytics for multiple workers who are actually interrogating the data. We've then got Qlik Analytics Platform, which some of you may not be aware of. That is taking data out of your QlikSense environment, taking individual objects and making mashups with web pages and other environments in people's own applications. And then right on the right-hand side, we've got Qlik NPrinting, which is doing reporting and collaboration and managing report distribution across the whole enterprise. So that's the Qlik platform of products. So what is NPrinting? Well, for a start, you can create great-looking reports and quickly. It generates Microsoft Office documents, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You can also use something called Pixel Perfect. Some people like creating very high definition PDF documents, typically marketing type documents, documents going out to customers or suppliers. People like to have a good look and feel to the documents they're publishing. And for that, there's something called Pixel Perfect already within NPrinting. It comes with the product, and that creates high quality PDFs. You can also create web reports via HTML. So you can output your report to HTML, save it off to a folder location somewhere, and use that to present on your website. You could also create HTML that embeds itself within an email. Or you can attach your report to an email. NPrinting is a multi-developer environment, so you don't just have to have one person. You no longer have to have a single version of a designer piece of software sitting on somebody's PC. It's based on a web-based client, and you can have as many developers as you like. It makes sure that you get the right reports to the right people. So what we've got is managed report distribution, already built into NPrinting. So you can schedule reports to run at a certain time of day. You can target the reports. So person A only gets department A, person B gets department B. And although the data that the reporting system is taking, that NPrinting is taking, is combined, it will split them out and make sure that those people only get the areas that are relevant to them. Also, it's secure. It will take into account the section access, etc., from your reports, and you can pull in the people into NPrinting that you're going to distribute to and make sure that it's consistent with your QlikView applications. The other way of sending reports out is something called Newsstand, which is new in version 17. It wasn't there in 16, I don't think. But with Newsstand, what you're able to do is to actually create exactly what it says, a newsstand. So somewhere that somebody can subscribe to, they can then sign on to that portal and see all of their reports for them. That comes with NPrinting. It's got multi-threaded scalability, so it doesn't just have to run on one machine. You can grow the machine. You can split NPrinting across multiple machines if you so need to. As I've just said, there's an enhanced role-based security within NPrinting. So you can define people as being administrators, as being developers, as being end users, or indeed newsstand users. All combining to give you that great reporting efficiency and value. Making sure that in the past you've had people maybe sitting down, pulling Excel sheets from here, there, and everywhere, maybe pulling reports off the main system and creating charts. Getting rid of all of that and making sure you've got a very efficient way of producing reports. That just says what I've just said, actually. You can distribute in many ways to email, web pages, folder locations. Also, one of the things with NPrinting 17 is that with Qlik Sense, you have the Qlik Sense hub, and you can publish NPrinting reports to individuals' hubs. So their reports appear immediately in a combined environment with Qlik Sense, as well as a newsstand. So what does it look like? Well, it looks like that. It's very much a web page. It's web-based. When you go into it, it starts with a dashboard. For those that are familiar with NPrinting 16, it's got very similar options. So we have applications, we have connections, filters, conditions, reports, tasks, and recipients are now called users because we're combining people that are recipients and people that are developing and using the NPrinting system. And then we also have destinations. That's something new in NPrinting, or at least a new designation of a way to do things. So, how do we set up a report? Well, I'm going to take you through a few screens to start with that show you the basic principles. I'm not going to go through everything, but it's the basic principles of creating an NPrinting report, and you can see how quickly it can be done. So to start with, you're going to start off by creating users and recipients. And when you press a new user, it comes up with a screen like that. Depending on the type of person, it could be that you're just going to put a username and an email address in. If it's going to be a developer or an administrator, then you'll also put domain accounts in, so it links in directly with your network. You can assign to groups, so you could take a number of users or recipients and assign them to groups. So instead of sending stuff out to individuals, you can send reports out to groups. There's also roles. When you create a user, it's at this stage that you say what sort of role that person has. Are they an administrator? Are they just a user? And it's a simple process of click or double click, and it moves across to the right-hand side, and double click on that side and still take them off the list. So it's easy to add, easy to take off people in the NPrinting system. One of the things to note is, unlike NPrinting 16, in 17, users are used across all applications. In 16, used to attach users to individual applications. Here, users are global. You define, as I mentioned a minute ago, that all recipients are defined here as well as users. Also note that I haven't talked about it yet, but there's also a button that says filters, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but just bear that in mind as we get a bit further down the presentation. So once I've defined my users, I'll be able to get into the system. I'll be able to start developing something because I've been defined as a developer. What I'm going to do then is create a connection. So what is a connection? It's simple. It's something that defines the source of the objects for the report. And when I create a new connection, it comes up with a screen. I give it a name. I can say whether it's linked to QlikView or Qlik Sense. If it's a link to QlikView, so I'm linking to a QVW of some sort, then I can also say whether that QVW is local, whether it's based on a server, or indeed on a cluster. And depending on which one of those you choose out of those 5 buttons, the options down here will change accordingly. Because I've chosen a local QBW, it's allowing me to put in a direct path to that particular report. If it's Qlik Sense, then it's only ever on the server. And the other thing is, you'll notice here that it says connection requires authentication. It allows for section access. So security is built in. So if your application has section access, you don't have to think, well, how am I going to get in there? It'll be there. When you click that button, it then says, give me a username and password. Once you've done that, that's the connection defined. Very simple. And quite simply, you run the verification. That will go away to the server and just make sure all those connections are there and that everything's working properly. That was a connection. The connection, by the way, once you've completed the connection and saved it, what it will do is go away and pick up the application, and it will suck out of that application all of the objects that exist. Once it's done that, it will store all of those objects in a list in the background in NPrinting, and you'll see in a minute how those are used. So once I've defined my connection, I can define filters. So filters can be used in a couple of ways. You can use them for the users or recipients, as I mentioned earlier, so they only ever get Department A when they run a particular report. Or you can run the report with a specific filter, regardless of the people it's being sent to. So filters can be attached at various levels. They can be attached at individual or user recipient level. They can be attached at report level, and they can be attached at task level, which we'll look at shortly. When you're defining filters, you don't have to just create a filter based on one field. You can choose multiple fields if you want. So here I'm choosing a delegated field and having values of engineering and customer services, and also a subgroup with a particular value of James Street. And then, as I've just shown, you can also, within each of those fields, have multiple values. Those are filters. Conditions. Conditions are used, again, in two cases. Firstly, for alert reporting. For example, if you want to send out a report, if a chart's got no values for a period, or send out a report if the margin is below 10%, for argument's sake. That would be alert reporting. So that can be running in the background on a regular basis, looking at your QlikView applications, which are also being reloaded on a regular basis. And if it sees an abnormality, it'll then send out an alert report to somebody to say, I think you need to look at this, do something about it. Very simple ways of defining things on the conditions. So you've got a name, you define your connection. You've got the option for charts to say whether it's you can choose the chart, you can say whether it's got values or hasn't got values. And here I'm saying that chart's got to have values and it's got to be 2017-08 for the period. The other common way that a condition is used is to decide if a report should be run or not. So typically you might have a QlikView application or a Qlik Sense application that's reloading at 3 o'clock in the morning. You might want to send your report out at 6 o'clock. One of the things you would do is look at the QlikView application, look at one of the variables and say, was it reloaded at 3 o'clock this morning? So what we're going to do now is actually create our report. Defining a report, again, pretty simple. The basics are give it a title. You're going to say what sort of document you're going to create. So in this case, I'm going to create a Word document. But as I said before, you've got Excel, PowerPoint, HTML. You can do pixel perfect if you want those high quality PDFs. If you want to do on demand, there's an option there to say, I want to do on demand reporting. If you're doing mashups and things, then there's also an API in NPrinting for API report generation as well. And you can do cycles. Cycles, for those of you who are not familiar with this sort of reporting, allows you to produce the report, but split it, for argument's sake, by department. So here in my example here, I've defined a connection and I've said I want to use the DR delegated field to split my report. It would then create an individual file, an individual Word document or PowerPoint for each of those departments or functions or whatever it is. You can also do dynamic naming of reports, depending on your different selection criteria. So when you're doing this cycling, you don't want the same report to come out saying departmental report, departmental report, departmental report. You want it to say departmental report, customer services, departmental report, finance, and so on. And in order to create the report, all you have to do is edit a template. What that does is takes you into a Word document. What I'm going to do now is actually show you a video. At this point, it becomes quite complex if they try to do everything by PowerPoint. I'm sure you probably had enough of the PowerPoints. And so we're just going to look at a video of me creating a report. So what we've got here is my QlikView application. It's a sickness application, and I've got two charts. The one on the left is chart 41, which is the bar chart. And then on the right, we've got chart 44 with all the detail of all the people and what their sicknesses were in the relevant periods and how many days have been lost. So that's chart 44, the other one's chart 41. We've also got the top functions and department. Functions is based on the DR delegated field, and department is actually the sub group field. So I'm clicking the edit template button. And as you can see, it takes me straight into the template editor. It's standard Word. I don't need to have special training or anything like that. On the left-hand side, I have some little images, levels, images, tables, and cells. I want to bring in my two charts, so chart 41 and chart 44. Chart 41 is the image. So all I do is left-click, gives a list, and I choose chart 41. And the other one's a table, right-click, add the details, and choose chart 44. That's brought my two charts into my report, and I can then start defining things. So I'm going to put in a title. I'm going to put a title in, my report, pretty simple. I can use the standard Word features for formatting. So I've set it to heading 1, and it doesn't matter whether it's the stuff that I'm typing in. I can also apply those settings to the items that I'm bringing from my QlikView applications or QlikSense applications. So now I want that bar chart to come in. So all I do is drag and drop. And it puts in a little window so you've got an idea as to where it's going to go and what sort of size it's going to be. A word of warning, just like anything in Word, you've got the problem when you bring in a picture of any sort that it puts it in there and it floats it above the text. You need to put it in line with the text to make sure you know what the positioning is. So now I'm bringing in that table, and that's going to add to the bottom there. So what I should be able to be doing now is for the whole company producing a sickness report. What I'm doing is just saving it so that I don't lose it, and I'm going back in to edit the template. You can go in and out as much as you like. So if you needed to define more filters or anything else, you can do. And now I'm pressing the preview button, and it's going to preview my report. There you go. There's my report done from my QlikView application. Very simplistic, and obviously you'll spend more time doing page formatting and splitting things across pages, etc. But with the time that we've got available, it's not really possible to go into a lot of detail. So there we go. That's my basic report. That's all very well, but probably what you would say is, hang on, I want this splitting by department. So that's where the levels come in. And if I add levels, just like I did with the images and tables, I can choose my delegated field. and that puts a delegated level in there, which is that functions. So there we go, that's got the delegated field, and the department is the subgroup. And if I want to split my report so that it does a number of pages but splits it by each of the departments, what I'm going to do is, in a second, just making a bit more space there, I'm just going to drag that DR delegated level across, and those of you that are familiar with HTML will be familiar with the sort of look and feel of these things. And so all I'm doing, the start of the level starts with the DR delegated level, and the /DR delegated level ends that level. So everything between those 2 points are going to be split by function. So I can put some text in to say, because the other thing is I'd like to see which department or function I'm actually looking at in my report. So there we go. I've split my report, hopefully, and I'm going to do a preview again. And I've split it by function. This is how quick you can actually generate your reports. Obviously, because it's Word, you can make them look as pretty as you like, and you can do all the formatting, etc., that you might want to do. So there we go, there's a report. And then it started with customer services, I think. We're down onto finance and commercial. And if I keep going down, it's that one. We're onto the operations now. So that's my report split. And so I'm going to save it as my basic report. And in order to finish that off, I've created the report. What I need to do now is start using those reports and start sending them out to people. So to do that, you create a task, and it's a publish task. Here's one I've created earlier in Blue Peter style. So we've got an overview, which very much is the name, and again, we attach it to an application. We then define the reports, and it's quite simple. You just add the report that you've created, so NPrinting webinar, and you choose the output format that you want. It was created as a Word document, so you've got doc and docx options, and you can choose PDF at that stage. That would create a standard PDF, or you could indeed create an HTML document if you wanted to. You've got the option whether you want to attach this report to the email or not. And I'm going to add the report. So there you go. I've now got 2 reports, one as a Word document, one as a PDF. The next thing to do is add the users I'm going to send it to. So I'm just adding myself at the moment, but you can see it's just a simple drop down from all a list of users, and you can say whether each one's enabled. So in the future, if I want to just disable one person for a week, I can do. And then I go onto the filters and apply any filters to the report. So if I only wanted a particular filter, a certain department, I could do. Here, I'm choosing the destinations, and I'm saying where it's going to. And then I move on to the email message. So I'm defining the email message. I'm saying who it's coming from. I can say who it's going to. I've got subjects in there, and down the bottom, I can create the body of the report. And I've got an option there, if I wanted to include the report in the body if I wanted to. Triggers, that's where we say how often it's going to be run and when it's going to be run. So I'm saying it's going to be run daily, once each day at 2:15. And it's going to start on a certain date, and if you want, you can say when it's going to end. Conditions, we looked at those conditions earlier. Here's where you can set the conditions to say whether that task is actually going to run or not. I've also got a Run Now button, so if I wanted to make sure it's all working, it says that it's submitted it. I can go into the admin and go to Task Executions. It tells me it's queued. And if we wait a few seconds, it should change to running, hopefully. There we go. Obviously, it will depend on who else is using the system. If you have other people using it, there's a limit you can say to reload so many documents at any one time. It's now completed. And so what I can do is go to the newsstand. And this is what the new stand looks like. There's an old document that I had before. If I refresh it, there's my two documents that I've just created. And when I click on one of them, I clicked on the Word document there it is for me to view. And at the top, there's a download option if I want to download that to my desktop. And above it is a PDF document that we created. And you can see that it looks exactly the same as the Word document, but obviously people wouldn't be able to edit the PDF. They would be able to edit the Word document. And if I go off to my email, it's also emailed the documents to me. And it comes out with two attachments, and it says, here is your report in the body. And there's the PDF, for instance, in a standard PDF browser. Okay, and then we're going our way to look. I think that's it. That's the end of the creation of the report. Hope you found that useful, and you can see how simple it is to create a report. Obviously, you will spend more time and make things look a bit prettier. So that was creating the documents. The distribution methods, as we said before, email, and that can be an attachment or embedded. Newsstand. You can put it directly to a folder, so it could be a folder in your SharePoint, or it could be a folder on your drive somewhere, maybe on your website. And you can actually create HTML that generates that website for you. So what do you need in order to get this fantastic piece of software? Well, the prerequisites is that really you need a dedicated server for NPrinting. Don't try to put it onto your QlikView or QlikSense server. The two will contend with each other. The QlikView and QlikSense server, either or and, need to be on the same domain as the NPrinting server. QlikView Desktop on the NPrinting server will take up a named user cal. So just remember that. You do need QlikView Desktop on your NPrinting server. There is an element called NPrinting Designer, and that needs to be loaded on the developer's machines. You don't have to develop on the server. You can develop, remember it's a web-based environment, so you can develop on your own laptop, on your own PC, and just link up to the NPrinting server and develop from there. However, you will need NPrinting Designer on your machine. It's just a little plugin, really, that integrates your Office with NPrinting. You can have as many developers as you like. On NPrinting 16, there was a limit. Obviously, you would need Microsoft PowerPoint, Excel, and Word on the developers' machines. Officially, you only need it on the developers' machines, and you only need it on the server if you're actually developing there. However, it can be useful to have it on the server for checking and testing documents. You would also, up to you, but it's a good idea to get an SSL certificate for NPrinting. Otherwise, it's all running HTTPS. You will get page errors at the top of the screen. If you don't, it's not a problem. You just bypass those messages. So what do they look like, these reports, when you've really spent some time? I've got some examples here. Firstly, this is a PowerPoint report that one of the major rail companies produces. It's monthly management reports. They use it in two cases. One is monthly management reports. The other is on a weekly basis. They send reports out to all of the station managers. But you can see the style that they use there. That's fairly simplistic, but quite neat and tidy. And here's one that one of our major councils actually produce out of NPrinting. And you can see here it's really heavy with infographics. And it's NPrinting that's producing the figures directly into that report. Nobody's going in and copy and pasting. Nationwide Hygiene. Some of you may know that company. They produce a daily progress report, and it's automatically emailed out at 6 p.m. every day to say where they've got to in that day in terms of the sales. I was with the IT manager last week, and he said something really, really nice, actually, that really shows the power of NPrinting. He said once you develop the QlikView app to pull out the numbers, it took about half an hour to produce the NPrinting app that you're seeing above there. He said it's fantastic. Users have stopped saying we're waiting for IT when people are asking where's this figure, where's that figure. They can't say it anymore. They get the reports. Nobody in IT has to run anything or do anything. It just happens. So that's NPrinting. What I'm going to do now is hand you over to Stewart Cully, who Jason introduced earlier. And Stewart's going to give you some insights into his experience with NPrinting. There we go.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I've got Philip Bertram with me and Louise Plummer, who have developed a lot of our kind of NPrinting reports. Having seen that one from the council, I'm not really sure why we're on here and the council isn't on here demonstrating their reports. This is an example of an email that goes out 3 times a day on our bed utilisation. And I was in the health service. They're very much into their performance statistics about A&E things. So this particular email goes out with this picture, which is a representation of our beds as they were just at the point when the email goes out. It also goes out with an embedded link. And one of our issues with QlikView is getting users to use the system. So with that embedded link, if they did want to look at further information, they can click on that link and go straight through to QlikView. So that has improved the usage of QlikView for us. We send out report in various formats. With PowerPoint is particularly good for looking at on smartphones. And it's just very easy to quickly rattle through the slides on your smartphone. Other ones are sending out in Excel, and then we use Word as well. We have made use of sending out via email. We also send out reports into folders, and we've got one very tiny application that sends things out directly into a web page, which the public can see the position of our hospital. Go over to look at just some of the reports. This is an example of a Qlik report that David was talking about, where our outpatient stats, we use NPrinting to query our database to see the list of clinicians who have had recent activity, and that creates our distribution list. So we're only sending this to the cardiology clinicians that recently done work in the hospital. So, and this report is a 25-page report. It's kind of produced on a monthly basis, just lots of raw statistics and things. We don't have any interaction with this, it just goes out. Other than having clinicians phoning us up saying that figure's wrong or something. But at least we're now getting feedback on our data, and so it is improving the quality. We have a monthly performance report, if you can find that one. This particular one doesn't get sent out automatically, it just creates a document. The bits which are highlighted in yellow is, this goes to the performance manager, and basically the performance manager changes the text that's in yellow to suit the document, but the rest of the document's interactive. So we're bringing into the with some sparkline things in here. We're bringing into the text of the document. We're just bringing these are just variables coming from the QlikView application. So, you know, nobody's sitting to have to transpose this. And we're just going through our various statistics. So this looks at our NE application, our inpatient application, our waiting lists, our outpatients. It looks, you know, I don't know, but 6 or 7 different applications all at once, and just brings the different objects. So this used to take the performance manager about 10 days every week, every month to produce. It takes, NPrinting wise, about 5 minutes to run, and it's given to performance manager, and they write up, they change the text, etc., and it gets out now within about 3 hours. Moving on to one that's slightly more graphical. We recently in Scotland started a health and social care integration, so we've got a new joint report which brings data together from both health and council. So we basically were given this template by, you know, the person who designed it. The first few pages are all just standard Word, and if I can get down to it, it's really just charts which are being repeated time after time here. So we have lots of different performance indicators. Along here, you can see how graphical it is here. There's shading in here on these numerics depending what part of the national outcome measures it is. This text here is coming through a database, so actually we have a QlikView application which presents the charts to the managers, and they do the write-up on that chart, and then that's brought through with the chart through into this application. So each manager has a group of indicators that they do the write-up for. The chart can change, it's not always line charts, somewhere. I'm not through. So, well, this particular one is just a 14-page report. I think one of them was about 52 different indicators all pulled together. The template itself for that was relatively straightforward. You can use Word's functionality about putting headers in to actually create a table of contents automatically. That's what this would do. This actually finds that Word's header, and this is just Word's standard table of contents. So simply by pulling the indicator through, that table of contents gets updated at the top. And you know, the 50-page document is really made up of that template there, which is about 7 pages, and it just cycles through each one. We have another example of theatres where we send out theatre report to each specialty, and then we, as well as it cycling through each specialty, within the report it cycles through the different theatres that specialty uses. So you can use the cycle function for who you're emailing to, but you can also use it within the document to change parameters. With one we send out to our school nurses, which is actually a patient level report which is targeted at the children in their school, and it comes from the A&E attendances the night before. That is emailed to the school nurses so that they are kind of aware that the child has actually been at A&E, because there's all sorts of risk factors that they have to take into account. I think that's probably the kind of main reports that we do. It certainly made a huge difference to our team in terms of productivity in getting reports out. We've just so many things now just unscheduled jobs to run, and then I say the occasional one where we just create the document and pass it on to a manager to amend. That's me.
Okay, no, thanks very much for that, Stuart. That was really interesting use of the kit there. So I hope. I apologise that we run a little bit over time, but it was really fascinating to see the really creative uses that you created with that, Stuart. So thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate that. Now, I do appreciate that we have run over, like I say, but I would very quickly like to just run through the way that it's possible to get NPrinting from ourselves and how we like to support it. So I will just quickly, if you'd like to move the slide along. Yep. Yep. Okay, yeah. So the philosophy ultimately with NPrinting is that it's best to empower you with the skills to manage it yourself, so that you're getting the benefit and knowledge of your organisation in the same way that Stuart's done there to create that full suite of reports. So what we've done based on our experiences, we've created a bundle that gets you up and running as quickly as possible, and that's currently at an introductory rate of 15%. So just really quickly, here's what it includes. So first of all, it includes the NPrinting software itself. The licensing model is incredibly simple and straightforward. We can quickly identify the correct option for you, and we can include that in the bundle alongside your first year's maintenance. It also includes on-site installation. So to get you off the ground in the fastest possible time with minimum stress, what we include in the bundle is the on-site development time, working alongside you to install the product and to also create your first report. Now, up to 5 days are included in a bundle, depending on the complexity of your organisation and your specific requirements. It also, to empower yourselves, it also includes 2 passes to our NPrinting workshop, where we'll give you the skills to maintain and develop NPrinting in-house. And then the very final point is, occasionally a situation may arise that is particularly challenging, and as part of that bundle we also include up to 20 hours of off-site support and development to use as and when you require. So if you're interested in NPrinting at all, if you like what you've seen, please contact either your QlickiT account manager or contact us at the details below. So I do apologise that we have run over, but we have also had a lot of questions as well. I'll just start to work through these. So I'll do it chronologically. It's the fairest way, I guess. But the first question was from Mike S. He says, "Hi David, does NPrinting currently have the cycle function as it was a functionality gap from NPrinting 16?
Yep, the answer is it does now. You can do cycles and you can put the documents out to the newsstand, or you can send them via email. So that functionality is now back.
Excellent, thank you, David. The next question was from Chris, and he was asking, "Hi David, does NPrinting allow you to put QlikView objects directly into a mail message?"
Yep. You saw how when I did it as an attachment, but when you define the body, you can choose there to include the actual report into the body of the email attachment rather than as an attachment.
Perfect. Okay, I'll answer your question. Paul Kedar, you asked, can each department receive only their data in email and not see other departments, as in section access?
Yep. Yes, you can again. When you send the report out, again, as you saw when I got the email, it will use those filters because the filter was applied against me to only send me, for argument's sake, the customer services department or the finance department, or maybe 2 out of, for argument's sake, 20 departments, depending on what I'm responsible for.
Excellent, thank you. There's a question here from Aresh. Could we see an example of the theatres NPrinting? Now, I'm not sure if we've got that at the moment, David.
No, we don't have that at the moment, Aresh.
But we can.
If you speak to us later, we can talk to you about it.
Yeah, we'll get you that at another time. So if there's no more questions, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending. I hope you found it really useful. I'd just like to thank David and Stuart for sharing their time today as well, and hope you have a good day.
Okay.